Hey everyone, Tony D and Little Joan with probably the most woke-tarded thing I've ever heard. This hits a whole new level of idiot wokeness that it infuriates me beyond belief. Seattle libraries implement racial segregation in the name of social justice. And that is 2020 in a nutshell, right there. The King County Library in Washington State has been holding separate but equal training sessions for their employees, all in the name of social justice. Here are the actual signs. It says DEI session, people of color, DEI session, people who are white. They actually segregated. They are so woke, getting the horseshoe effect, they've gone around the bend to racism. These people have talked themselves into racism. They're so anti-racist, they've become racist. Chris Rufo, a filmmaker, is the director of the Discovery Institute Center on Wealth and Poverty. At the King County Library System, a private consulting firm called Racial Equity Consultants recently held a racially segregated listening session as part of the library's ongoing racial justice program. This is the post-millennial, by the way. The consultants begin with an anti-oppression framework and use the segregated sessions in order to root out institutional privileges and systematic inequities embedded in the current social political conditions that influence and affect our institutions. Except in that process, they're being racist. They're breaking the law. You're not allowed to discriminate because that's racism. So, what do you do with someone who's biracial? They've got a black dad and a white mom, or vice versa. Do they have to go to both sessions? Do they have to pick? What do you do with someone who has a black grandfather and the rest of his relatives are white? Or what do you do with anybody who is of mixed race? Do you have a third session? Mixed race. People of color, mixed race. Oh, yeah, I'm sure you'll just keep atomizing it down until everybody's in their own private bubble. This is exactly what Ayn Rand warned about the left, that they will atomize themselves to nothing, which is why they're idiots. The consultants discovered widespread institutional racism in the library system. Oh, what a surprise. The guys who are hired to look for institutional racism in the library system, who can't really be checked. There's what? Oh, I have a divining rod. Oh, there's institutional racism. Oh, it's everywhere. It's everywhere. Oh, we're going to have to be here a while. Uh-huh. That's what I imagined happened. That was my little play. It's infuriating. Rufo, the filmmaker, says segregation was wrong in the 1950s and it is wrong today, especially in King County, named after Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, that's irony for you. They're also trying to have the classes in the Veterans Administration of Puget Sound facility and the King County Prosecutor's Office. Oh boy, that certainly helped things. That'll certainly help things when they start segregating people, how they're charged. King County Prosecutor Dan Saderberg and all senior staff have recently required employees to sign equity and social justice pledge and assign continued training for white employees who, quote, must do the work and learn the true history of racism in our country. Sounds to me like you're forcibly re-educating them. They're required to sign an equity and social justice pledge. What the hell is that? And assign continued training for white employees only? That's discrimination. That's illegal. Send in the feds. Arrest these people. Arrest them all. This is like It's like Mississippi burning without the violence. It's like Mississippi burning only with bureaucracy, which in my mind is almost worse. It's almost worse. This is unbelievable. These people have turned the government in these institutions. It's like a cancer that gets in and needs to be rooted out. You have to not vote for anyone who signs on to this, even a little. They're not fit to run anything. Not a library, not a school, not a prosecutor's office, certainly not a state. They need to be immediately reassigned, recalled, out. Oust them. They are racist in my view. This is a racist, discriminatory policy. It's critical race theory. It's wrong. Over in California, San Diego, unified revamps grading system after minority students disproportionately impacted. See, instead of addressing why some of the minority students are struggling with their grades and the reasons, no, we can't address the problems. That's too hard. Let's just revamp the entire system until we get everybody equal. That's what the goal is here, despite what the article says. That's what I believe the goal is. Equity. This is a form of communism. This is, we just got to keep changing the system until all the grades are the same. And in this process, just like communism, instead of bringing everybody up, you have to drag everybody all the way to the bottom. And then you finally get equity. Yeah, because everybody will be equally ignorant, equally confused, and the teachers can continue to grade them exactly the same. Then you'll have a bunch of uneducated students all going on to college for more brainwashing. This is the important battle against critical race theory, against Black Lives Matter, against Marxism. This is where it's actually happening. The stuff that's happened in the streets, yeah, that's important too. That's going to be handled. That's going to be handled. I know it's pretty bad. It's been bad for months, but after the election, there's going to be a big uptick, and then Trump's just going to, these people are all going to jail. And most of them, unfortunately, they've been indoctrinated, radicalized. They're probably beyond help for a long time until they, a few of them will spend, once they spend 5-6 years in jail, then they'll finally have a few, most of them will probably have a revelation. Oh my God, I've ruined my life over this. But this is where it starts. You're indoctrinating kids into this idea that, well, see, if you don't have the same grades as a person of a different race, well, it must be the system that's wrong. No, you don't have to work harder. You don't have to try to understand things. It's just that the system let you down. And don't worry, mommy, the teacher, is going to fix it all for you. We're going to weight the grades until everybody has the same exact grade, and then voila, you'll be equal. And that's the only thing that's important to these people. This bizarre quest, this bizarre woke religion that they've signed on to. And here's the real big story, which I've talked about before, and a bunch of YouTubers have, but I'll mention it again because I think it's very important. California's Prop 16, this is the Hill reporting. California's Prop 16 would allow discrimination against women, is the headline. Actually, what it is, it's to remove Prop 209 from 1996, which made it to illegal to discriminate against race or gender. The Hill, of course, seems only concerned with discrimination against women. I guess race doesn't matter to you, The Hill. What the hell is wrong with you? Are you? This is an opinion piece, so I guess it's just narrowly tailored. But that's on the proposition, or that's on the ballot this 2020. That's, if you're in California, you got to vote to keep Prop 206 and vote against Prop 16. I'm sorry, 209. You want 209. That makes discrimination illegal. You do not want Prop 16. it will make discrimination legal. You will end up with Seattle's racially segregated libraries and San Diego's woke grading system or whatever it is. You're going to end up with all kinds of discrimination. And as Ayn Rand used to say, the left will eventually atomize itself into so many different camps, it'll be ridiculous because it won't be enough to have a group of people of color. Because then, and this has already happened before in woke circles, people of color is too broad a category. Now we have to have indigenous people in this group, and we also have to have, there's certain people who are darker, certain people who are biracial, they're too white, and then you got, of course, women, and you got gay and LGBT, and on and on and on and on, until literally you have my book, Wokeness, a Novel, where in one scene, the students are punching holes into the walls of the dorms to make extra entrances for every group. They're making so many holes in the dorms, they're collapsing. They're in danger of collapsing because there's just too many groups, right? They're making we got to have a door for people of color, a door for women, a door for gay people and gay people of color and trans and on and on and on. Yeah, it's insanity. That's what this is spiraling into. This is why critical race theory is a cancer. This is why Black Lives Matter needs to be stopped. Not the concept, but the group, the Marxist group, because this Marxist nonsense won't stop until everybody's equal. And that means everybody will be broken, nothing. And then, at that point, someone amongst those Marxists will emerge to lead everybody. And that will be your new Stalin, whoever that is. We, of course, won't get there. The process won't get that far. But these people will do a tremendous amount of damage on the way. And we have to root this out now. Now is the time. So after this election, we got to push for Trump to revamp the education system in this country. He's already started. He's made critical race theory gone. He's got to stomp it out though, out in these places. Clearly, the library system, that's a government thing. That's got to go. San Diego public school, gone. That's just got to go. California, that's got to be challenged. If this passes, that's got to go too. But really, there needs to be, beyond just the national mandate, Trump's really starting the ball. He's got like a commission, a 1776 commission, I think. They're going to study it, and they're going to come back with recommendations. But he definitely needs to go a little further. He has to root out critical race theory, discrimination again. He's got to make it federal law, so these people can be sued and appropriately chastised. Ultimately, I think the biggest solution would be to privatize the schools, or at least give the states the option and or incentive to do so, and say, listen, your schools, they're poorly run, they're too expensive, all this crap's happening. We're going to let you privatize them. We're going to let you privatize them all. You could sell off the land, you could sell off the buildings for a reasonable rate, and then you have the corporations come in, let them do most of the work, and then you can give them certain parameters that they have to follow. And if they step out of line, you could have lawsuits. Parents could sue them. These companies would be responsible for the educational system with the light hand of the government, to make sure no one's getting ripped off or, indoctrinated or whatever. Probably be a very tough process. I think you could eventually do it. I think you could get most of the schools, like 99% of them, privatized. You may have to keep a handful of them just for, certain areas where they just don't have enough schools or whatever. Just they don't have enough money. It's not profitable, whatever. You could offer tax incentives for schools to take on poor students or disabled students or whatever. And, you know, in a bigger system, you could have a company that owns, say, 10, 20 schools, and they run them, but they also have a few special schools, and they get a big tax break, and, you know. But ultimately, it would really greatly reduce the cost. You would have these companies innovate, and, you know, it would lower our property taxes. Here in New Jersey, we get clobbered by property taxes. Instead, if you have a kid, you pay the school. You don't have enough money, you know, you go to a poorer school, but it'll be cheaper in the long run. It'll be cheaper to pay it privately without any property taxes or anything. And then, you know, you could apply for subsidies or grants or scholarships. You know, smarter kids would obviously get scholarships to the better schools if they're smart, because those schools would be making a profit. And one of the ways you'd make a profit in a school, just like with a college, you want to attract the best students. You want to attract the best of the academics. But you can't do that under a San Diego grading system where everybody's essentially going to be equal. I don't really understand it, so maybe I'm wrong, but it sounds like a bunch of woke nonsense to me. Again, I'm very infuriated by these stories. They anger me. They anger me, doggy, and I had to talk about them. Anyhow, on to the next video.